Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. This is another episode of the Doing Me series. My name is Sarah Elizabeth Harrigan, certified confidence coach, and man, I am so excited for this episode. Let's get into it. So in episode 1, we learned about what it means to marry you, what it means to put yourself first and be selfish, meaning selfful about you. In today's episode, we're going to talk about what it means to take the time to learn you. Now, I'm sure you're thinking, I know who I am already. I've been this way forever. However, what I would like to bring you present to is 3 things. 1, the power in spending time alone and what it brings present for you. Number 2 is unlearning the inherited you. Ooh, so good, so good. And number 3, being able to distinguish your reality versus your story. Let's jump into it. So number 1, the power of being alone. Now, one of my biggest lessons on my life journey was understanding that when I was born perfect, whole, and complete. Now, what does that mean? If you are someone that is spiritual or you believe in Christianity, you've probably heard that you were born in the image of God, or you were born in the image of whatever higher power that you believe in. So in thinking that way and remembering that you were born perfect, whole, and complete, it gives you the opportunity to sit back and really think about all of the places where you feel inadequate, or all of the places somebody else told you you were inadequate. It allows you to think about the places where you doubt yourself. Like, if you were perfect, whole, and complete, would you doubt yourself? No. I don't find that. I don't find that at all. In my own journey thus far, I've really had to get a full grasp of what it means to be perfect, whole, and complete. That means accepting myself even when I do stuff that society says is bad, that society says is good, that conservative society says put on some clothes because lingerie ain't supposed to be on public media. Says who, right? What I have had to do is take a step back and really look at myself and really tune into my intuition, tune into who I was born to be, and realize that everything about me is perfect, whole, and complete just the way it is. When I was born a baby to this day where I am now to when I die, I will be perfect, whole, and complete. Now, when I talk about the power of being alone, what I mean by that is taking some time to just be with yourself, to allow the true thoughts that you have about yourself to stand out and to be louder than the negative voice that's usually talking in the back of our heads. See, it's talking right now. It's trying to say some stuff right now. Don't you hear yours? I know I'm not the only person with a voice in my head. Anyways, when we allow that voice to speak louder than the voice that is internally us, what happens is that voice is actually meant to protect us, right? That voice is to keep us safe. And what it also does is it prevents us from doing things that are new, doing things that are scary. And it leaves us in a state of fear all the time. So, oh my God, if I start this business, like, I'm gonna fail. And practically, technically, no, you don't know how you're going to do unless you try. However, it takes you actually taking time to yourself and really spending the time to understand how powerful you truly are, and to actually realize that this voice is just here to protect you. It's not the voice to listen to guide you. It's not the voice to listen to support you. It's the voice to listen to when you're in some scary shit. And most of the time in life, we're not in some scary shit, okay? So my greatest offer to you is to actually recommend that you do this exercise, and I will link the exercise below in the description. This exercise is what I call talk to me nice. Now, Yes, I stole that from Drake, right? Drizzy Drake. I think he said something about talking to me nice. But this exercise is more so about you looking at the different sectors of your life, the things that make up who you are, right? So when I first did the exercise, I thought about my spiritual being. I thought about relationships was another sector. I thought about my physical well-being. I thought about finances. I thought about education. So those were the sectors that I listed out. And then what I did in those sectors is I wrote down the lie. The lie is usually the thing that you have come to believe as fact. Now, specifically, we can talk about my physical body. If you have not followed my journey, I have released about 90 pounds, and I've probably gained and lost about 10 of that over the past couple months. However, the greater goal is that I lost 90 pounds, okay? And I am maintaining it. So that at one point in my life, I was 340 pounds at my heaviest, and I believe that I was supposed to be heavy and fat my entire life. Nothing's wrong with being fat. I'm still fluffy now, and I love it. But I was at an unhealthy level at that point, right? And the lies that I would tell myself was that there's nothing I can do about it. My dad's side of the family is heavy. I am going to forever be heavy. And those are my genes. So you better get used to it, Sarah. And then one day I saw some back fat on an aunt of mine. And I was like, I don't want that. I really don't want that. But then guess what happened? I ended up having that exact same thing. So when I sat down and did this exercise, a lie that I told myself was I had to be this way because my dad's side of the family was heavier. And when I think about talking to me nicely and spending time alone, I actually got to think about it. And I was like, well, technically, I'm made up of both my mother's side of the family and my father's side of the family. And yes, my father's side is heavier. Okay, granted, cool. But my mother's side is not. My mom's mom is like 70 something and she works out harder than I do. She can kick my ass in the gym more than likely. She goes to the gym twice a week. She is the fittest woman I know. I will say that. So as I spent the time alone and I was filling out these lies, right? I said, you know what? The lie is that I always have to be this way because my dad's side of the family is heavy. The truth is that I can choose whatever side of the family I want to look like. I can stay in the state that I am, or I can choose my mom's side of the family and put the work in because the genes do exist. I just need to do the work and chisel her out. So that is one of the results that I got from being alone. Another one is I sat down and I wrote down the lies that I thought about money. And one of them was money is evil. Now, is money really evil? No, it's not. Is money amazing and useful? Yes, it is. I love money. You know why I love money? Because when my friend in Orlando who just had twins can't come home for Christmas and she wants some pineapple tart from Tortola, British Virgin Islands, having the money to go order the tart and then mail it to her and just imagine the smile on her face and the smile in her belly that she's gonna have when she gets to have a piece of home, that is what money can do. And I love doing great things for people. I love being able to pay for things. I love being able to gift people. I love to donate. Like, I love all the things that money can do. And I think I'm a pretty great person. So if I'm a great person, then I'll do great things with money. So the lie was that money is evil. And the truth was that money is awesome. Money is a tool that you can use to do whatever you want to do. If you're an evil person, you get money, you're going to do evil things. And if you're a great person, you get money, you're going to do great things. So that was another lie that I had to remove from my life and input with the truth. Now, the powerful thing about this exercise is that the brain works like a file cabinet, right? If you've seen The Matrix, which I hope you have, if you haven't, go watch The Matrix. Please. It is going to open a new perspective for you of how the world actually works, right? But the brain being a file cabinet, I was able to put the files that existed here, aka the lies, on paper, and I wrote them down in pencil, right? So when you download the form, it'll have all of the instructions. But so I wrote down the lies in pencil, and then I wrote down the true things that I felt about myself, the true things that I believed. I wrote those down in pen. And over the next 3 days, I read the lie and then the truth, the lie and then the truth, the lie and then the truth. And what that does is it creates the trigger in your brain. So without you having the truth there, when things happen in your life, you automatically default to the lie or whatever you had in that specific space. Now, when I was triggered, my brain, because I was triggered by reading the lie, right? So now when I was triggered, I had the truth immediately right after it. And I was like, well, that thing that I just said is bullshit, right? And then after day 3, I erased the lies and I read the truth for the remaining of the week. So what that exercise does, it removes that old file, throw it away, get out of here, bye, removes the old file and replaces it with this powerful file that is accurate, this powerful file that is the truth about you. So obviously, a result of that was me going from 340 pounds down to I'm at about 250 today. I hover around 243, between 243 and like 257. It just depends on what I'm eating. That is one of the results that I've had. Another result was I went and got a second stream of income. Like, I had this belief that I had to work for one company and give them all my time. And then next thing you look, I got my real estate license. I got certified. I started getting clients. And then I started my own real estate business. I wasn't a broker, but I worked for a broker. Technically, I had my own business. So those are 2 amazing results that came out of me removing those files that were not true and inputting files that were. So number 1, in taking the time to learn you is understanding how powerful it is to be alone and really evaluate yourself, really put on paper the things that you have registered in your brain as fact, and then actually look at them and say, is that what I actually believe? Is that how I actually feel? And if it's not, then you can talk to me nice, talk to yourself nicely, and write the truth in and remove that file that doesn't work. All right. So like I said, I've left the file download down in the description so you can download it and get on that as soon as possible. Okay, wonderful. So number 2 in taking the time to learn you. So as I was going through the exercise that I described in point 1, which is the talk to me nice exercise, I realized that a lot of the thoughts that I had, a lot of the beliefs that I had were actually inherited. They were inherited either from my parents and the way that they operated in the world and the things that they believe. Something like money is evil is something that my mom used to say all the time. Oh my God, these people with their money's so evil, like you can't trust them. And if you're around that long enough, especially as a child, it's something that now becomes your fact. So what we have to do is we have to unlearn the things that were inherited from other people. When I think about people that we inherit ways of thinking and ways of being from, our parents, right? And they have their own traumas. We have our teachers who also have their own traumas. And then we have outside influences, TV, our friends, other family members, etc., etc. So in unlearning the inherited stuff, you have to really take into account that sometimes a lot of the things that we believe throughout our lives are not things that we actually believe as an individual. Me as Sarah Elizabeth Harrigan, I personally believe that my body can be whatever I want it to be. And that's why my weight is usually around a certain number, and then sometimes I gain a little weight and I lose a weight, because I know that a body is fluid. I know that every day is not going to be the same. And my previous way of thinking was, I'm fat, I'm always going to be fat, I'm always going to be overweight. And what always freaked me out is I would go to the doctor and they would just be like, you need to lose weight. And I'm like, is anything wrong? Nope, you're perfectly healthy everywhere else. Your breathing is good, your blood pressure numbers are good, your heart rate is good. And I'd be like, this is so weird. I'm 340 pounds, I'm 6 feet tall. Like you would think something would be wrong. But that was my body telling me, like, homegirl, you're perfect. However, the weight that you're carrying is all up here. You need to let that go. So that was an inherited way of thinking, right? And then the way that I ate was an inherited way of eating, because I'm like, well, I'm fat, so I just might as well eat everything. But then physically, I wasn't feeling good, right? Mentally, I wasn't feeling good. Emotionally, I was not feeling good. So taking the time to unlearn those thoughts and ways of being that you've picked up over the years. Let's think about the trauma that we go through in life, right? So we're traumatized. My parents used to beat me with all type of stuff, right? Because I was a quote-unquote bad kid. I was a bad kid that got A's and mostly A's, a few B's. Was very good at school. I was always a leader. Always loved doing extracurricular stuff. Was always a tomboy. However, I used to get in a little trouble, right? I used to lead the other kids to go do things that we shouldn't have been doing. So from that trauma in my life, I had to unlearn that stuff. I know that when I have kids, physical beating is not going to be a part of how I raise them. I just don't feel like that's necessary. I have learned to acknowledge that we all have everything we need from the time we are a child to when we get older. So if we already have what we need, then we can discern for ourselves what's good or bad, what is right or wrong, what we should be doing. So there's no need for physically harming someone. I don't believe in putting your hands on someone. So that's something that I had to unlearn, because trust me, when I was around my little sisters, I wanted to hit them, and I was like, why am I hitting them? Like, don't feel good. So that was something that I had to unlearn. Some of the things I learned from my parents. Another thing is unlearning the things that I got from my teachers. So a few weeks ago, I actually went back and I looked at some of my old report cards, and I'm reading my report cards, and some of the things that my teachers would say was like, she talks too much. She thinks she knows it all. She thinks she's smarter than everybody else. And it was interesting to read that in a report card, because it's like, how do you know what I'm thinking? If anyone knows me and has met me, I have never thought that I was better than anybody else. I don't know what it is about the universe, what my gift is specifically, but I've always believed that there was something to learn from everyone. And I always knew, even as a child, I grew up on just a small little bit about me. I grew up on a marina in Tortola, British Virgin Islands, Super Toll Marina. And I grew up where there were mega yachts and private yachts from all places, all walks of life, all places in the world. There were people from China, from Japan, from the UK, from other parts of the Caribbean, from South America, from California. All of these people would sail the BVI, they would dock at Soper's Hole, and me as a child, I would go and talk to them. And even at the age of 5 and 6, I knew that we were all the same. Even though we looked different, we were from different places, we spoke different languages, something in me told me that we're all the same. We just look different. We all want the same thing. We all want to be happy. So for my teacher to say that I thought I was better than people is wild, because I've never thought that. But me reading my report card, I had to say, wow, you look back and you say, your teacher actually wrote down and tried to discourage you from doing something that I now do for a living, something that I enjoy doing, which is speaking and using the things that I do know, most importantly, using the things that I've experienced in my life to help other people and motivate them and inspire them. I'm not saying not to do what I have done. What I am saying is this is what I have learned from what I have done, and I hope that what I have learned can make a difference for you. So if I went by what my report card said, and if I went by what my teacher said, she talks too much, you guys would not be getting this YouTube video right now. You would not be getting this series about doing you and being the best version of yourself. So F you, teacher. F you. Okay? So those are some examples of things that I had to unlearn, and I had to realize that I was gifted before I even came out the womb, these abilities and ways of being that are true to me. They are that way for a reason. They are that way so that I can make a difference. So when you think about yourself, and you're thinking about some of the things that you need to unlearn, and trust me, when you do the exercise, they will come to light. You will be like, whoa, I thought that that was my belief, and then you realize that it wasn't. When you realize that you have to unlearn that stuff, after you unlearn that stuff, the only thing that remains is who you truly are, who you have always been. I have always been a chatterbox because I love talking. Our voice is so powerful, and I love to use mine. And the fact that my teacher told me I talk too much and I need to quiet down, I mean, I guess that's the formula that she used for her classroom. However, what that did was kind of stifle my voice, right? You come home and then your parents are like, don't talk so much in class. So you start to silence yourself. And that's what I did. I silenced myself. All through college, I didn't speak up in college. I would sit in the back of the course room. I would take my notes, and then I would leave. And that had an impact on me because I didn't ask the questions that I should have asked. I didn't get the help that I needed. I was just silent. Don't talk too much. Don't distract people. So those are the things, and that is the impact that some of the things that we think can have in our lives. And for you, I want you to see that at any point, as soon as you choose, you can unlearn those things that are actually holding you back, those things that are actually holding you back from being who you are meant to be, perfect, whole, and complete. Okay? So that's number 2 in the taking the time to learn you. It is unlearning the inherited things, the ways of being, the ways of thinking that you've gotten from your parents, your teachers, your aunts, your uncles, your cousins, whoever used to tease you, because I used to get teased a lot. Used to call me fat so all the time. Now when they see me, they want to be with me. But we ain't gonna get into all of that today. Okay? We ain't gonna do that today. All right? So that's number 2. And number 3, which is my the difference that I'm going to make in your life right now. Get ready for it. Number 3 is being able to distinguish your reality from your story. Now, what am I talking about? That's probably the question you guys always ask. What is she talking about? But don't worry, I'm going to describe it. I'm going to make it simple and clear for you. So, our reality is the things that are actually happening right now, right here, right? And our story is what we create in our head about what is happening. So, let me give an example, and then I'm going to give you guys this board, because this right here is going to make a difference. Actually, let's jump into it right now. So, my favorite example to use with this is, in my reality, for example, was I had this employer when I worked at PricewaterhouseCoopers, and don't mind me guys, I'm just buttoning up my top because I don't want you to be distracted by my melons. That's so funny. Okay. So when I worked at PricewaterhouseCoopers, I had a dope-ass boss, right? She was a powerful woman. I don't see color, but I think it's important for people who do. She was a powerful black woman, colored woman. She's brown skin. I don't know why we say black, but a powerful woman, all right? And she was recognized and respected all over the company. However, she had this very Gestapo type of attitude to her. Like, you better do what I say, you better do it right now. So me being in that arena, I always related. I didn't realize it at the time. Every time that she would tell me to do something in that manner, I would have this like resentment for her. I'm like, who are you talking to? Who are you? Hello, they pay me too. I got value too. And it would affect my work. It would affect the way that I communicated with her. And as I was climbing the ladder, Now looking back at it, I can see how my experience with her was actually not my experience with her. So what does that mean? As a child, I have a very powerful mother. She is powerful, she is smart, she's creative. My mom's pretty dope, okay? But she also had that same Gestapo-likeness to her. She want to tell you what to do, and you got to do it right now, the way she says you should do it. And it's very restricting, especially when you're a creative being. Like, I'm going to do what you said, just let me know what you need to be done, and I'll get it done. What happens, though, when you micromanage is it creates this resentment. So, in my reality was my boss telling me what to do, right? So, Sarah, can you take care of this thing? Come on. There we go. Didn't want to get no lipstick on there. So, my boss says, do X, right? And when she told me to do X, immediately it would feel just like my mom was telling me what to do. And I resented when my mom used to tell me what to do. It used to piss me off, right? So my story around do X was do what I say, when I say, how I say, I want to be the boss of you. Because that's how I always used to experience my mom. Like, my mom wouldn't let us go out. Well, me, because I'm the first child, right? Going out was not, go where? You better stay in this house. I'm not dropping you anywhere. And if you go somewhere, you better be back by this time and blah, blah, blah. Yes, we understand that some of that is for your protection, but the other times, as you're getting older, you're 16, you're 17, you want to hang out with your friends. It's very restricting. It did not feel good. So whenever my boss would say, do X in her manner, I would immediately relate that to my story. And my story was, don't tell me what to do, because that's what my mom used to do, and I don't like that shit. So whenever that would happen, I would then use my story to affect my reality, right? Now, the difference between these two things are they're not even related at all. However, a previous experience, which has created a story for me, always was in the back of my mind. So if my boss told me what to do, I would be like, don't tell me what to do. Right? It feels like my mom, which was my story, and then it would impact my reality, and then it would happen again. Now I'm in a relationship with a guy, obviously, and, well, not obviously, but anyways, I'm in a relationship, and he is like, do X, Y, Z, and I'm like, don't be telling me what to do. Back to my story, impacting my reality, and now he's like, I was just suggesting something. You know what? I'm going to go date somebody else that isn't so combative. So now my reality and my story become one, and I'm living in this world of confusion. Can you relate to that? Where in your life are things happening and you are creating a story in your head about what it means, versus just sitting in the reality? The reality is my boss was saying, can you take care of this report for me? And if I just listen to, can you take care of this report for me? Then cool, I'll do the report. I'll do it extremely well. And you're going to be happy with my delivery. And I'm going to be happy with what I delivered. And then more money for me, more bonuses. I get recognized. But no, I was living in my story of what it means. And then guess what? Me living in my story actually negatively impacted my reality, and then I'm leaving PwC. I went and worked somewhere else. I had a great time at the other place I worked. However, PwC is a great company. I could have probably moved to a different department and still grow in my career. Anyways, we're not going to talk about all that. So, what I want you to get from this is what is super, super powerful, right? It's being able to learn yourself, learn the traumas that you've been through in your life, learn the stories that you have created about yourself around your traumas. My story was that I was always being told what to do, and if I'm always being told what to do, then I must not be great at what I'm doing myself, and I can't trust myself, and it would upset me, and then it would affect my reality, affected my relationships with my boss. It affected my relationships with guys that I was dating. It affected my relationship with money. Like, what my reality was and the story that I created around it really, really affected my life. So in taking the time to learn myself, I was able to identify what my stories are. Where have I established stories in my life, and how are those stories affecting what I want to create in my life? Okay? Now, before I move on, I want to give you one more example, and I want to give you one more example of this reality and story life. So we have story over here, and we have reality over here. And the example I'm going to give you is actually from one of my previous clients and how it affected her life, right? So in her reality, what happened was she was orphaned, right? She was left on somebody's doorstep as a baby, and after that, she bounced around different family members, right? So left on doorstep, bounced around different family members, different family. All right, just to keep it short, right? So that was her reality. That is what happened, right? And what we want to identify is the difference between what happened and what she created. So this is her reality. What she made that mean was, I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. Okay? So in associating this with I'm not good enough, every time in her life where someone left her or someone moved on, we won't even say someone left her, every time in her life where someone moved on and did something else or changed up the situation, she equated it to meaning that she wasn't good enough. And her defense mechanism was to push people away. So she lived in her story, right? Whenever people left or did something that she didn't like, she immediately equated it to her not being good enough, her not being appreciated, and it affected her reality because now she's pushing people out of her life, right? Maybe someone did something for their benefit. It had nothing to do with her. However, she equated it. She made it mean that she was not good enough, and then she affected her reality. And then when things actually happened in her reality, she immediately equated them to being her story. I'm not good enough. I'm not good enough. And if I'm not good enough, then just push them away. And her reality never got better. It was like insanity. Insanity meaning doing the same thing, not even knowing why, right? Because we don't realize that we're doing this. We don't realize that we're equating our reality to our story. We're now believing that our reality is our story and it's all one thing. And this is what we're living in. And what we want to do in taking the time to learn ourselves is to learn how to distinguish between our reality and our stories that we create. The minute that you're able to identify what's a story or identify when you're going into creating a story, then you can stop the story. Stop. This is not true. And you can live in the reality of what actually happened, okay? So this is super powerful, especially for me as an adult. Being able to distinguish for myself the difference between the two has been really beneficial in situations where I felt like I wasn't good enough. If someone didn't respond to me fast enough, I'm like, oh my God, they're with somebody else. They don't like me anymore. And that ruined a lot of relationships because it made me show up very insecure. And I'm not an insecure person. But I was living in my story. My story was that if one person didn't like me, what are the things that he did when he didn't like me? He stopped showing up. I couldn't get in contact with him that easily. So whenever it happened with somebody else, I immediately went into my story. I started acting funny, accusing them of stuff, and then it would ruin some really amazing relationships that I've had in my life. So I really want to I'm going to do probably a whole series on just reality versus story, but I really wanted to just bring this to your attention, get you present to it, so that you can start thinking about the areas in your life where you are mixing your reality and the circumstances that actually happen in life versus your story, because we do it very often. It feels good to us, right? Because our story, we know our story, we created it, it feels comfortable, we're used to it. And when we live in our story, we're missing out on all of the amazing stuff that is happening in reality. We're missing out on everything that becomes available to us. One last example for you is that in conversations with my mom, when she's talking to me, and usually she's just talking to me out of concern, out of love, she cares about me, I used to immediately go into this phase of, here she goes again, trying to tell me what to do. And it made me very weak in conversation with her. And what I mean by that is I wouldn't speak my truth as eloquently as I can right now, as eloquently as I would with other people. I would immediately turn into this little ass girl who couldn't talk about what she actually wanted and what she was actually feeling, until I saw for myself the story that I created around everything that my mom said. It was me thinking that she was telling me what to do. And what has subsequently happened, and it is still a work in progress, is that I've been able to identify that when she is speaking to me, it's out of love and concern and wanting the best for me. Yes, she may not do it in the nicest way possible, but that's on her. And I've been able to just take the content, what she actually said from the conversation, versus creating my own lyrics, my own story around what she said, because the story is disempowering. I never feel powerful in my story. I feel weak, like I can't control it, like life is happening and I'm just watching it. And I don't want to be like that. I want to be on the court. I don't want to be in the bleachers of my life. I want to be on the court. And I have had to learn myself. I have had to learn the things that I have created in my head. I've had to learn the stories. And now that I can identify them, I don't live in story anymore. I live in reality. And I'll be honest with you, it's challenging, because every time you have a conversation or you get into a situation that reminds you or triggers the story, you have to stop. This is something I've had to train myself to do. I'll have to stop, evaluate what actually happened. What is the reality of the situation? They asked for X in this time frame, this way. Cool. Basically, all they did was provide all the information I need to give them exactly what they need. It has nothing to do with telling me what to do. Powerful versus disempowering, okay? And let's put that on the board before we go. Living in your story is disempowering, right? Versus living in reality, which means utilizing all of the information, all of the data that you have to create the most powerful result, is powerful. All right? Got it? Reality, powerful, living your story, disempowering. And we're all born perfect, whole, and complete, and powerful. All right, guys, so let's just recap this video. I love reality versus story, and I'm probably going to do a full series on that. But to recap part 2 of the Doing Me series, this video was all about taking the time to learn you, to understand you. And number 1 is understanding the power of being alone, spending time with yourself, with your thoughts, to understand your ways of being, your ways of thinking. And then number 2, unlearning the inherited stuff, right? The inherited stuff came from somebody else. It's not how you actually feel. It's not what you actually think. It's not how you actually want to operate in the world. So you have to unlearn that stuff. There's nothing wrong with that stuff. It works for them. However, it does not work for you. And in order for you to do you and be the most powerful version of you, you have to know what works for you. You have to know what ways of thinking and what ways of being work for you. And that's going to take some unlearning of the stuff that doesn't. And lastly, being able to distinguish or identify the difference between reality and the story that you have created, the story that you are relating to some other time in your life. Maybe you were a child and someone put you in a disempowering state, and now as an adult, you're still using that defense mechanism. You're still relying on that story to support you. But what is actually happening is it is ruining your reality. It is disempowering you in your current state. And we want to get rid of that. We want to be our most powerful selves. And in order to do that, we got to take the time to be alone. We got to talk to ourselves nicely. We have to unlearn the things that don't work, and we have to be able to distinguish our reality from our story, okay? So I hope this video has made a difference for you. If it has, please take the time out to like, comment. Comments are important because comments make a difference for other people that watch. And share. And lastly, subscribe. Make sure you subscribe and hit the bell so you know every time I post a new video, okay? I can't wait to see you on the next one. Peace out, y'all.